questions. We're going to really stay on time. We want to be respectful of your time and not keep you too long. So the gentleman in the back, I'll tell you who he is. Mr. Michael has an index card for anybody. If you raise your hand, you want an index card. Yes, and he will collect them as well. Thank you, Michael. So do we have an ETA on James? Okay. We appreciate your patience. So in the meantime, thank you for making some time for us this evening. I'm Sabrina Taylor, the president of the newly organized St. Lucie County Black Democratic Club. The gentleman in the back, raise your hand. Mr. Michael Thomas is our vice president. We come to you in collaboration with the NAACP St. Lucie branch. Ms. LaShawn Bell, if you'd stand please, she is the president of that organization. And Andy Poley, who is the chairperson of the St. Lucie Democratic Party as well. So it's important for us that we certainly continue to work together. As we know, this election is essential. As always is said that every election is important, and glory be, this one really is. Certainly as relates to St. Lucie County as well as the state of Florida. So before we move on to introduce our candidates, we're giving James Martin some time to get here. Please stand and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the format for this evening, the candidates will introduce themselves according to the office they are seeking. The order of each office will be from the bottom of the ballot, working up. The order is, I'm going to pause. James has entered the facility. So as I started, candidates will introduce themselves according to the office they are seeking. The order of each office is from the bottom of the ballot, working up, and that order will be the school board, Port St. Lucie City Council, County Commission, State House, and Congress. Each candidate will have up to 8 minutes to introduce themselves and their platform. When all candidates seeking that office has presented, there will be 10 minutes for questions for each specific office. After all candidates have presented, the 10-minute question period for questions for Congress has expired. The floor will be open for all questions. So again, Mr. Michael Thomas. Michael, if you raise your hand for us. He has index cards for those of you who want to ask a question. And he also will be completing them, picking them back up once you write your question down as well. So without further ado, let's go to work. So one of the reasons why we are, the format is what it is. Some of you may have already received your sample ballot. And so at the very bottom of that ballot will be the school board office. And so even though that, that particular office is at the bottom, it is no less important than those candidates at the top. School board positions are nonpartisan positions. And so that means that most of those positions are going to be determined during the primary. A lot of people don't realize that. And so it's really, really essential that, one, we participate in the primary. Some of us may wait to the general, but again, each election is essential. So without further ado, Ms. Debbie Howley, School Board District 1, you have 8 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm so glad that she said just because I'm at the bottom of the ballot, I'm still important. You know, school board absolutely is important. In fact, I submit that it's maybe one of the most important because it's the future generations that will be coming along and aspiring to seats such as us. As she said, I'm Debbie Hawley. I am the representative from District 1. I am a fourth-generation resident of St. Lucie County. In fact, I have lived in my home for 40-something years in District 1. So my roots are deep here. I have raised 3 sons, 3 amazing sons. All of us have been through the public school system. And now I have my most amazing granddaughter. That was my prize for 3 sons. I finally got a granddaughter to spoil. So this is our home. And I started out, let me tell you a little bit about my educational journey as it pertains to school board. I first ran for school board in 2010. Judy Miller had vacated her seat for retirement. And so 7 of us decided that we wanted to occupy that seat. I was fortunate enough to come out to be the winner in 2010. And let me tell you, the ride it has been from 2010 to 2026 is nothing short of amazing and exhausting and all of the adjectives you can think of in between there. In 2010, St. Lucie County Public Schools were ranked number 47 out of 67 counties. Horrible, horrible. This year, we have risen slowly through those years. We are now ranked number 21, into the top third instead of the bottom third. And we have done that despite having a 64% free and reduced lunch rate, which is the 53rd highest in the state of Florida. What that tells me is we are serving children, doesn't matter what zip code they live in. They are succeeding. Our graduation rates now are over 94% for our comprehensive high schools. They're graduating, they're going on to college, they're ready for a career, they're joining the military. We've come a long way in those 16 years. And I certainly do not take all the credit for it, but I do know that I've been an integral part of that rise. I have invested myself fully in my school board seat. I serve as our board's legislative liaison, so I spend a lot of time in Tallahassee, which is not always fun. But when you're doing it on behalf of children and the future of children, you go. It is my honor to serve the residents of St. Lucie County, and I'm asking for another 4 years. It will be our final 4 years, as school board members now have term limits. So this will term me out, but there's still work to do. Most assuredly, one of the things that we have to face right now is the use of AI in our schools. And I have been appointed to the state task force for that. In fact, we've met twice this week because there will be a rulemaking that will come forth about it tomorrow. So that's important. You know, safety of our children comes in far more fashions than just keeping the bad guys out of our buildings. It comes in the form of technology as well. So that's in front of us. And then we also have to face the more and more of the scholarships. Right now, over 9,000 students are drawing that Family Hope Scholarship. Not all of those 9,000 left our schools. The vast majority of them were never even members, never attended a public school. but they are taking the scholarship, which I am a full supporter of parental choice, but I'm also a full supporter of accountability. So we are offering some of our classes at a fee rate for those students to come in, because there's some classes that you can't get when you've been homeschooled. For instance, ACE classes through Cambridge Academy. So students will be able to come and take up to 3 classes on our campuses a year, but they will be, there's a fee for that. So we're trying to become more business oriented as we continue our quest on the educational journey. So a lot still ahead of us. I hope that I can be part of that for the next 4 years. I'm vested in it. As I said, my granddaughter will start 6th grade at LPA this year, which is where her father and her uncles graduated from. She just graduated from Fairlawn Elementary, where my dad went to elementary school. So we are public school proponents and advocates, and it's just in our blood. And I appreciate all the support you've given over the years, and look forward to 4 more years with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Just as a reminder, for each office, each candidate, again, will have up to 8 minutes. Then when that particular office is finished, then we will open the floor for 10 minutes of questions. The next school board candidate is Ms. Lisa Kessler for School Board District 5.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out tonight and being passionate about public school. I believe that public school is the foundation of the American dream. We all want everyone to be able to accomplish, you shouldn't have any limits on your dreams. But I promise you, if they make public schools become privatized, someone will decide who gets to learn to read and write. And that is not American. And Debbie touched on the vouchers, the scholarships. It's taking money away from public school, and it's not offering any accountability. So while public schools have to meet different grade levels and do testing, these private schools and homeschools do not. And so as far as the school board goes, I'm very passionate about strengthening public schools in this new marketplace, because it's becoming an educational landscape. It used to be that public school it's in your community, that's where your kid goes to school, there wasn't a lot of thought given. But now there are choices, and public school has to step up and get the word out, because public school changes lives. How many of us out here have a favorite teacher who completely changed the trajectory of your life? That could go away. And that is what is at stake. That's why it's so important to vote in August. And being in the community and seeing Doretha there, it makes me think of the Highwaymen, because the Highwaymen, we just opened the Highwaymen Museum. It's beautiful. Please go. And when you go, you're going to see these fantastic, gorgeous landscapes of Florida. And you know what? None of those would exist without public school. None. It was a public school teacher who inspired the Highwaymen, who saw talent and said, you know what, you could go further. It was a public school teacher who said, you know what, I'm going to get you connected with A.E. Backus. I'm going to get you professionally trained. That was all from a public school teacher. And I know that public school often gets a bad rap because, you know what, public school takes every single kid. Private school will cherry pick which kids they take. So it's really easy to look at it and go, oh, well, public school, they don't do well enough. No, public school goes above and beyond because they believe that every child can succeed. No exceptions. That's part of our school board's motto, that when I go to the school board meetings, we say it, and I'm like, wow. But it's true, there should be no exceptions. But as we keep privatizing public school, we take away those opportunities. And I am a child of 2 lifelong public school teachers. My dad is 78, and he still directs 2 marching bands. I'm like, sir, Anyway, so I'm very passionate about the purpose of public education. I also have a son who just turned 32. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Reno. But my son wanted to do well in school, and when he got to middle school, he started falling behind, almost failing. He had D's because my son could not remember, now that he had a bunch of different teachers, you know, you start in middle school, you're going to different classes, he couldn't remember which class had what due. It was a struggle. And you know what? Public school provides an IEP, an independent education program. And that IEP teacher taught my son that you are smart. You just learn different than other people. And she started getting him these graphs so he could write things down. And you guys, my son, who's having a birthday today, graduated an honor grad of middle school, honor grad of high school. He got his bachelor's degree, his master's degree. He just passed the Navy nuclear propulsion. I'm like, what? And that kid, he's 32 today, he still has a whiteboard where he writes everything down. That IEP teacher made him feel like you are just as smart as everyone else. You just need a skill. So that kind of thing is what happens every day in public school. Every day. They saved my son. And every one of us here who graduated from public school, you had teachers who cared about you. They didn't care where you came from. They just wanted every child to succeed. And I think we need to protect that. Public school, as far as our school board goes, I'm not running because everything's broken. Like Debbie said, we have a great graduation rate. But what happens to the kids afterwards? I think that public school needs to do a little better job at marketing what happens to the kids afterwards. Like my son, I just gave you that great success story. That should be on flyers, you know, of what happens to kids. We should know how many go in the military, how many go into trade school, how many go to college, how many come out of high school prepared to go into the workforce. These are things that parents should know, because then they will choose public school and we will keep public school strong. So for me, that's why I'm running. I am passionate about it. I've been on many boards. I'm currently the chair of the Arts and Culture Board in Fort Pierce. I am the queen of the squeaky wheel. I know that when you're on a board, you are going to get voted down, and that's okay, but you keep bringing it up. Make people hear it until you find a way, and that's what I will do. I'll be a fighter for public school, and thank you so much. I hope I get your vote. August 18th is the big day. Please don't miss it, because like she said, because it's nonpartisan, school boards are usually decided in August. So I would love your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Debbie. So in this portion, this closes out the discussion as relates to the office of the school board, District 1 and District 5, respectively. So each candidate, Debbie and Lisa, will have 5 minutes to answer this question. How do you feel about non-disclosure agreements in public office? Lisa, we will go to you first.
Non-disclosure agreements in public office, like for the school board, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a big transparency buff. I think that if you are not transparent, there is a reason. And so I am not comfortable with being secretive. I think that our school board budget is very difficult to find on the website. And to me, typically, if you don't want people to know where your money is going, it's because you are ashamed. You know it will make people upset. So as far as non-disclosures go, there are legal things that happen when you're part of a board. So I would always, obey the law. However, I think that the board can be a lot more transparent with the taxpayers, because you're paying for public school. And I'm sorry, but a budget shows your priorities. It really does. And we should know where that money is going. So I hope that that answers the question.
Thank you. And Debbie?
I'm not sure if they're asking non-disclosure as an individual board member, or are they asking non-disclosure as a school district.
So the question is about public office, so however
Okay.
you feel
Right.
comfortable. Thank
Because
you.
all constitutional elected officers are required every year to file a form that discloses everything that we are associated with, whether it be a business, a club, anything that we receive monies from. We have to file that with the state of Florida, and it is always accessible. You can look them up for every person that holds a public office. As far as with the school district budget is very, very complicated and complex. However, all you have to do is ask, and you can have a personal audience with our whole finance team, and they will go through it with you line by line. And we have had multiple people do that. You'll see that our priority is teaching and learning, and that's where most of the budget money goes to. In fact, the CFO for the state of Florida came and said that St. Lucie County is the third most efficient school district in the entire state of Florida, which was a huge accolade to get from that level at the state. So we really do pride ourselves on paying attention to every line item in the budget. I spend hours that turn into days every year studying that so that I'm sure that when I raise my hand and vote yes, I know what I'm voting for. It takes time. Being a school board member is not, it's not a 2-hour-a-month job like some folks think. You can make it 100 hours a week if you choose. And I choose to put the hours in so that when I make a vote, I know exactly what I'm voting for. And I'm also very open to anyone that wants to come and say, let me go look at that budget. We'll do that. Because you're right, it is taxpayer dollars, and it's exactly, we have to be transparent with it, which sets us apart from other types of schools like private schools and homeschool and that sort of thing, where there isn't the accountability for the dollars. But we can provide the accountability. Lisa's exactly right. It's a lot to put on a website. It may crash the website. It is so intense. But I encourage you to come and see it. Go through it with us. We're happy to provide that for any taxpayer, any person in St. Lucie County or out of the county, because what we're doing right. And we've had some other school districts come and sit with our finance team and say, you know, how did you get to this top number 3 in the state? So we're sharing best practices, and it's a good spot to be in, because like I said, when I started, it wasn't a good spot to be in, but we're getting there.
Thank you, Debbie. We have one other question from the audience. We have a little time, so we're going to recognize Pastor Pinky Henley. Would you like the microphone so we can hear you? Yes. Thank you, Michael.
I've heard the concerns about what is happening with a parental choice. So my question is, do you find that there is a place where there could be both private, charter, and public schools working together? Because sometimes when we say that the private schools don't have accountability or they're taking monies, I think the audience is due an explanation about that, because it's not as cut and dry as it is being discussed. So I'm asking you, do you see that there could be a place for both private schools, charter schools, and public schools, giving parents the opportunity to make the choice of where their children should go?
Who would like to answer that question?
Thank you, Pastor Pinkley. It's good to see you here tonight. Absolutely. My answer is absolutely. There is a place for all three to coexist. However, when you use taxpayer dollars, there needs to be accountability for that. if they're going to hold public schools to the rigor of the transparency, then that needs to apply to private and homeschool charter schools as well. There are many gaps in between, but I'll be the first one to say, absolutely, private schools, homeschooling, charter schools, they all fit for the children that they serve. And parents and families need that opportunity. We're not the only game in town. We want to be the best game in town, but we're not the only game in town. We know that. We're learning to be very competitive. We're inviting some of those students in to take classes in our facilities. But yes, Pastor Hinckley, there is an opportunity. I am a strong proponent of parental choice. And, you know, I could exercise that really well with my sons. I'm having a little struggle telling my son what to do with my granddaughter at this point. But parental choice has to have a place and be recognized. The drawback for me will always be the lack of transparency that they have to provide in the other outlets.
Thank you, Debbie. Lisa?
I'm with Debbie. I'm fine with parental choice. My problem is, again, that private school doesn't have to take every student. I met parents recently whose child was diagnosed with ADHD and the private school kicked them out. So to me, they shouldn't be getting taxpayer dollars. Taxpayer dollars should be available to places that take every child. And if you are going to set a standard where every child can't go to your school, I don't feel like you should be getting you should still be open. There should still be kids who are able to go there, but I don't think we should be taking public taxpayer dollars and giving it to them.
Thank you. At the end of our conversation this evening, there will be another 10 minutes to entertain more questions from the audience. The next office will be for Port St. Lucie City Council District 1. That would be Mr. Indeni Jean-Baptiste. The second candidate is Mr. Fritz Masson Alexander. He has yet to join us. And so that said, Mr. Baptiste has a full 8 minutes. I apologize. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Thank you. So moving right along.
Hey, we got more time.
We're going to have some more time. So thank you. And I look great. Okay, anyway. Okay. The next office will be for County Commission District 4. It's going to be Mr. Jean-Eddie Leroy, County Commission District 4, as well as Mr. Roger Messer, County Commission District 4. So, Mr. Leroy, you have 8 minutes, sir. Thank you. And again, my apologies.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Jean-Eddie Leroy. I live in Fort Pierce all my life. This city is my home. It's my hometown. I have a family, a beautiful family. I have 2 kids, born and raised in Fort Pierce. They go to public school in St. Lucie County as well. My background, I went to school in St. Lucie County, graduated from St. Lucie County, went to college in St. Lucie County, got my degree in St. Lucie County. I never moved. I have my BA in organizational management. I was a police officer in the city of Fort Pierce, so I know what's going on. I used to work that beat. I was in night shift, working that beat. This used to be my beat. Then I switched to education. It's just the fact that I feel like I want to help some kids. I want to help the young people, get in the right directions. I don't want, when it's too late, when you get to the county jail and then now you're asking for help, it's already too late. I feel like those people, those kids, those youth, they need guidance. So that's why I left that field. Right now, I'm working for the St. Lucie County School District as a teacher, as a math teacher, because I love numbers. In the process of, teaching, those kids, I teach those kids about life. I give them guidance. If you go that route, you're gonna mess up for life, and they need guidance. I joined this race is just the fact that life is not what it used to be when I got to this country. Okay, it's not what it is. But I remember back then with $20, my mom used to go to Civil Lot. When we come out, our cart was filled with groceries. Now it's not the same. It's not. I feel the pressure. As a parent, I feel the pressure. So, I know what's going on in St. Lucie County. Okay, when it comes to public safety, I'm pro law enforcement. I'm for law enforcement. One thing I propose is before we hire a deputy and put him in the road, they need to spend 6 months in the county jail. Why? Because when you work in the county jail, you get used to what's going on. Compared to if we just, hire you and then, put you on the street, you don't know what's going on. You don't know the bad guys, okay? You don't know them. But if you work in the county jail, guess what? You know what's going on. You get the feel of working as a law enforcement. We need to increase the deputies' pay. That's why they left this county and go somewhere else, because they're underpaid compared to Palm Beach, Broward, and somewhere else. We need to pay those deputies more because they have a job to do. When it comes to safer neighborhood, we need to reduce crime. How are we going to do so? We're going to expand our neighborhood watch program and improve street lighting. In the county, there's especially on the south side, we need more lighting. It's too dark. We need to see what's going on. Housing, it's so expensive in the county. It's not what it used to be. I mean, it used to be affordable, but not now. People are stressing out. When I drive in the county, some district is not the same as other district. Why? Because I do believe in fairness. If you get this grant, why can't this district, get the same thing? Why District 1 is not the same as District 2? What's going on? We're humans. We are the same. It's time for us to get together. We have so much at stakes. We are at a time where we need to get together to fix our own issues. If we don't, the other side is going to take over forever. August the 18th, I look forward for your votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leroy. Just need to pause for a moment and to make you all aware that Mr. Fritz Alexander has arrived, and so we will be working on a solution because, as you can see, it's very full up here. And so because he did arrive after our discussion began, we're going to work on a resolution. So wanting to acknowledge his presence in the room, and we will figure out a way to bring him before you at this time. Mr. Roger Messer, please.
Thank you. My name's Roger Messer, and I'm running for the county commission. And even though it's from District 4, everybody in the county can vote in our race. My wife Betsy and I moved to St. Lucie County in 1978, and I practiced law here, particularly civil trial practice, continuously since that time, although I backed off a couple of years ago and I'm working part-time now with my son. We raised our kids here. My son, Stephen, went to Westwood High School. Then he went to Florida State and founded law school, and now he is now my boss. I work 1 or 2 days a week, and it's nice having him around. My daughter, Joanna, went to Francis K. Sweet Elementary School and also went to Lincoln Park Academy, and from there she went on to Florida State and has a degree in business. She is a successful businesswoman in the Tampa Bay area. When I moved to St. Lucie County, St. Lucie County has been very good to my family, been very good to me. I've had a successful law practice here, but I've always felt since I got here that I needed to give service back to the community. In 1979, just a few months after I got here, I joined the Fort Pierce Lions Club. I did that after looking at other service clubs in the area, and one reason I joined the Fort Pierce Lions Club, but it was the only truly integrated club in the county. One of the members that they had there that was a leader in the black community was Hayward Finn, who was a very good friend of mine. Another one was David Monroe, who owned a restaurant on Avenue D called El Chico before he retired. They were dear friends and remained so during their lives. Now, I moved to Port St. Lucie and opened my own law office back in the late 80s and moved my family down to there in 1990. In 95, I moved my membership in the Lions Club to the St. Lucie West Lions Club, which I founded. But I stayed working with the Fort Pierce Lions Club. Ruth Davis, my good friend, is over here nodding her head. My wife and I have been married for 55 years. She's sitting on the front row up here. I will tell you that my work with the Fort Pierce Lions Club has included doing blood sugar screenings and vision screenings for kids, which we did in this very church several times, haven't we, Ruth? So this is not my first time in this church. I'll tell you, in addition to the work with the Lions Club, I've been a leader in the state organization as well of the Lions of Florida, and a past district governor, and I've done other pro bono work. I've won almost every award for pro bono work that they give by the Florida Bar. And I've also won awards locally from the Florida Rural Legal Services and from the local bar associations for my pro bono work. Pro bono does not mean free, although we don't get paid. It means for the public good. And I'm very proud of that work. But in addition, I was a manager and a coach and an umpire and a sponsor of youth baseball at all levels from the time I was in college until I got here and continued with my son. I followed those kids after that, and I coached white kids and black kids. It didn't matter. And I followed the kids that I coached as best I could. Not one of them has gone to prison. Several of them have gone to college. Only one of them made it to the Dodger organization, but they were all good kids. And I think that's the way you help kids. I view the position of the county commission as being a further opportunity for service. I'm running because I believe we need sensible, controlled growth in the county. We are building things before we have the infrastructure to deal with them. We don't have enough fire stations, police stations, we don't have enough roads, we don't have enough drainage, we don't have enough water. I'm running because local government has become pay to play. This is something that's negative. Every member of our county commission that's there accepts large campaign donations from the developers who appear in front of them. To me, that is a conflict of interest, and I have sworn not to take that money. And it may cost me in the election, but I'll tell you something. We have to have some principle. And that's one thing that I can tell you that I believe in. I think pay-to-play has become a problem from the top of this country to Tallahassee to locally, and we need to stop that. I'm running because I am absolutely opposed to the idea of a mega data center here in St. Lucie County being allowed. It's been voted down almost everywhere else, but our county hasn't taken that step. I brought a chart over here on the edge, and before you leave, you ought to read that. That was a very nice article that appeared in the News Tribune 2 weeks ago. I've had it on my card, this card, which is in the back, for about 2 months. It is something I've looked at, and let me tell you something, it is not good for the county. They use massive amounts of water. They use as much electricity as the rest of the county. You're going to see your electric bills go up, okay? And most of the money they make goes somewhere else. So I'm just telling you that our county commissioner hasn't said anything about that. I am running because finally I firmly believe that I am uniquely qualified to beat the incumbent Republican who is presently sitting with all the other Republicans on the county commission. With your help, we will win. I can't stress that enough. I need everyone's help. I've got some signs in the back. I've got some of these cards. It's got my background in it. It's got my platform on it. Take one. I've got a few signs back there. Put one in your yard. The ones that go in people's yards don't get stolen. Okay? I've had a few go missing. But anyway, I want to thank you. I want to thank Reverend Johnson for helping me put this together tonight, and as well as Sabrina. Thank you.
Thank you. So ironically, I think you may have had a peek into some of the index cards, sir.
You already answered the question.
Yeah, because that's one of the questions for the candidate. So because you've already opened that door, I will ask your counterpart, Mr. Eddie Leroy, if you also has some, share with us your stand on the data centers as relates to AI, please. Thank you.
That's a good question. I have received quite a few emails from residents from Sensor County about this question. I haven't had a chance to fully answer you because I've been busy lately. Now you're gonna hear that from me. I'm completely opposing that. Why? I feel like we're not ready. This gonna take a toll on all of us. It's been a quiet county, and I suggest it stay like that until until it's time. But now you get the answer from me. I'm completely opposing it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So one more question for the county commission candidates. Again, Mr. Roger Messer and Mr. John Eddie Leroy. What is your position on eliminating the property taxes and why? Mr. Leroy?
I believe there's an amendment, Amendment 3. All of you are aware of it. This amendment, put out by the governor. But somehow, when that amendment got to the House, somehow they switched some of the wording. When it comes to eliminating property taxes, I'm against it. It's not good for us because if you get that out the way, something else, you have to replace that with something else, and we don't know what is it gonna be. So I believe right now what we have, we need to pay taxes, we need to pay property taxes. Do not get rid of it. If we do, we're gonna replace that by something else. We need to know what it is. We need to know what it is. You're not gonna confuse us thinking that you're gonna move that out the way without replacing it by something. We need to see it. It needs to be in writing. I need to see it before we can say, you know what, let's get rid of it. I'm completely against Amendment 3.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Messer?
Yeah, I'm against it also, but for several reasons. Number one, if it passes, they supposedly have set aside certain things for the police and for the fire departments, but the police and the fire go against it because they can see through this. I can tell you that if it passes, there won't be any money for parks and recreation. If it passes, there won't be any money for lifeguards. If it passes, the libraries, which we have some very nice libraries in St. Lucie County, are going to have to close or greatly curtail their hours. The services that make this a nice place to live are going to disappear. I can tell you that I studied the St. Lucie County proposed budget. It's 540 pages. The first 2 pages tell us that if this passes, St. Lucie County the first year will lose $66 million plus. The second year is going to lose $112 million plus. And they say that if they use the reserves that we have in the budget right now, the reserves will be gone, and at that point in time, we won't be able to borrow money like we can now to pay for roads, because our bond rating will go from AA to nothing. So there's tons of reasons to be against this. I've told my friends, please don't vote for this. I can tell you that if it passes, folks with the biggest break on their taxes are those with homes that are worth $500,000 and more. It's not going to help many people in Fort Pierce. It's not going to help many people in St. Lucie County. It may help some of the rich people around, but most of my friends, it's not going to help. So I'm urging everybody here to vote against it. Thanks.
Thank you to both of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is, both of these candidates are competing against each other. And so they are vying for your vote. You will see both of them on the ballot, again, for County Commission District 4. We're going to take a brief pause in our discussion and welcome Mr. Fritz Alexander to the table, and we will give him an opportunity to present to you as well. So as he is taking his seat, Mr. Alexander is running for the position of Port St. Lucie City Council District 3.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Fritz Mason Alexandre, and this is my 4th time running for City Council District 3. And I've been in Port St. Lucie for the past 20 years. Basically, my platform is bringing diversity to the city, fighting for your right or your priority, and I am a leader that you can trust. So I am a man that I like action, so I don't like to talk too much. So my background is I'm from Haiti, and I'm a medical doctor in Haiti, and here I'm doing my PhD in health psychology. So I'm fighting for the city, for the resident of the city, so we can get together and get in a better life. Merci.
Just give me a moment. So, Mr. Alexander, thank you again for making some time for us this afternoon and joining us at the table. Is there something in your opinion that can be done to attract the youth vote and the independent voter?
Repeat the question again, please.
Yes, sir. In your opinion, is there something that can be done to attract the youth vote as well as the independent voter?
Yes. Basically, we need to do something for the youth because we want them, after finish school, to stay in the city to work and to do whatever they want to do. And after that, to put some kind of vocational school because they don't have any vocational school in the county. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. So, our next candidate will be none other than Ms. Jennifer Massey, who is running for State House District 84, and she is the only candidate representing the Democratic Party on the ticket, and you will see her name on the ballot actually in November, but she definitely is with us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Jennifer Massey. As she said, I'm running for Florida State House of Representative for District 84 against Dana Trabulsi to serve St. Lucie County. And so I got into this race because I've always been about service and community. And so my background entails me currently working for a nonprofit veteran service organization. I work in research and education where we serve veteran members that have spinal cord injury, ALS, and MS. And so my background prior to that, I have leadership and management experience. I have close to a decade of management with Walmart and close to 5 years with CVS in management and store manager. So I understand managing budgets, P&L, dealing with people on good days and bad days. I understand working with teams and developing people. I understand teaching, training, and coaching, but definitely working with everyone. I've been involved in a lot of community work. I have been serving with Girl Scouts close to a decade. My daughter is going in her final year with Girl Scouts. I have served as leadership with Moms Demand Action, national organization. I served as a chapter lead for the state of Florida. We do a lot of advocacy around gun safety, gun violence prevention, and common sense gun legislation. I've had the opportunity to go to DJJ a couple times, and I go and talk to the kids there. A lot of my background just entails the things that will allow me to be able to do the role of State House of Representative. So when we talk about affordability, affordability starts with income. And so we need income to be able to help us sustain life. And so with income, we know that our minimum wage is $14 an hour. But I just read an article and actually made a post that in the state of Florida, in order to rent, you need on average of $43 an hour in order to just rent. Because obviously you need 3 times the amount to be able to sustain that particular property. And so sometimes people don't understand what happens is that when people work, people can work 20 years and still not make equivalent to someone that could just be starting today. And so that's where we have to make sure that we have better wage pay. I want to advocate, obviously, for higher wage because $14 an hour is not going to cut it. We want to make sure that when we look at things like healthcare is important to me because it is the other thing that helps us sustain our quality of life. Being able to go to the doctor to get regular routine checkups, go to the dentist every 6 months because your oral care is just as important to your life as any other care that you get. And so being able to have access to insurance that is affordable because until we can have universal health care that would be free for everyone and everyone could have access to it, then I want to advocate to expand Medicaid in the state of Florida. Medicaid, despite what is being stated, a lot of people who actually do have jobs and go to work every day actually are on Medicaid. And so we know that Medicaid is another vital part to helping people that are not insured and underinsured to be insured. I do also understand how Medicaid can also help our seniors because unfortunately Medicare does not cover a lot of the things that will be needed for those that receive Medicare. And we want to again make sure that even our seniors can receive the quality of health and care that they need, that they have deserved, but also that they have worked for, because as you know, you work, you pay into these things. And so when things aren't able to be accessible to help you in your life, we need to be able to do something about that. Education is also important to me. Debbie and Lisa have talked a lot about it. The things that I'm also in agreement with is oversight and accountability. We have to make sure that we understand where those funds are being distributed and how they're actually being spent. And so we don't really have a good measure in place. And so in order to make sure that money is being returned back into the district, because as they said, if a private school kicks your child out, then they have the funds, then how do we recover that money back when the student returns back to our school district? So we want to make sure that we have measures in place. The last thing on my platform is safer communities. As I stated before, I'm a very strong advocate when it comes to gun safety. It does not mean that I'm against the Second Amendment, but I believe that we all have the right to be safe when we leave our home, that we pray that we make it back to destination A, which is always our home, that when our children are in school, that they are safe, that they are secure, that our teachers and our administrators aren't having to figure out how to manage and safely get children out of a building or out of harm's way. As Mr. Leroy mentioned, you know, street lights, those are simple things that we can do to help reduce crime, but to keep our communities safe. And so I've worked quite a bit with a lot of organizations over the last decade that I've been engaged in gun violence prevention. And there are a lot of things that we can do to prevent some of the crime that is happening, and being honest and having open discussions about a lot of the things that are actually happening in our district and across the state, but also across this country. I know from my just experience of being chapter lead for the state of Florida that, you know, we need to have more conversations around the things like mental health. That's why healthcare is also important, because suicide rate in this state is alarmingly high. 63% of firearm deaths in this state is death by suicide. And that is a conversation that we need to have so that we can make sure that we are providing people with the right resources that they need to, again, to be able to sustain life. And we know that with the affordability crisis, the healthcare crisis that we're dealing with, that we know that that also puts a burden and strain on people when they feel like they just can't do enough, or that there's nothing else that they can do other than making the ultimate decision to take their own life. So I'm running in this race because I genuinely care about people. I care about their life and I care about their livelihood. And I'm not just saying that because I'm running for office. I have been literally saying that for over half of my life because I truly mean it. I have been engaged in service for over 20 years. And so I want to bring the things that I have had the opportunity to do in smaller spaces to a larger scale, because I want to make sure that everyone has the quality of life that they actually deserve to have, and not have things being taken away or debated if it's something that they should or should not have. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have shifted to the top part of the ballot. And so we began our conversation with the bottom of the ballot being, again, not minimizing the role of the school board, but every position that you will see on the ballot, again, is just as essential. And so, Jennifer, that said, the question we have for you this evening, given that you are asking for a larger responsibility, being that you will spend most of your time in Tallahassee, representing District 84, how do you think you can unite the Democratic Party, breaking the fear-mongering of the thinking more of the same? It keeps us voting against our best interest. How would you address that?
First thing first, voting, I always say that voting, although we say it's a right, but it is our duty to do so. We know historically the stories that people have fought, people have lost their lives, people have had to decide whether they want to pay to vote or pay to eat. And so we have the duty and responsibility to make sure that our vote matters. But when it comes to working with the party and others across the aisle, I'm always open to do that. That is something that I've always done. I'm always willing to talk to other people and understand the things that are their views. I won't say that their view is wrong, but I will listen and see how we can work together to make a better decision, because it is important that we work together, because the role that we have as a public servant is to serve the public, and we cannot do that if we're not willing to have a better understanding of what each other's views are to make a better decision.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
All right, we are rounding the corner. And so our last office will be that for Congressional District 21. This is a U.S. Senate position. I'm sorry? House Representative. Thank you.
You're just testing us. Yeah,
I
just
tell-
testing us.
I have given you all a promotion. So that said, we have Mr. James Martin and Mr. Bernard Taylor. And after their presentations and their questions, we will designate another 10 minutes for general questions from the audience. So again, if you have not had opportunity to receive an index card and fill your question and have it picked up, now is the time to be able to do that. Michael Thomas is going to walk the room again. Please raise your hand if you would like to have a question asked from the podium. Hearing none, Mr. James Martin, again, is running for Congressional District 21, as well as Mr. Bernard Taylor. Mr. James Martin, please go first.
All right. Well, thank you to Ms. Sabrina and to the St. Lucie Democrats and everyone who put on a tremendous event tonight. Quick show of hands before we get started. How many public school teachers, veterans, first responders, government workers, current or retired, do we have in the house? Quick round of applause. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Now, quick snap poll. Who is happy with what is going on in the country right now? Well, I thought that might be the case, but the good news is that's what we're going to talk about tonight. My name's James Martin, and I'm the man who's going to beat Brian Mast. I'm a proud fourth-generation Martin County local, husband, dad, and Coast Guard veteran. After graduating from South Fork High School in Martin County, I was very fortunate to earn an appointment to the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, where I combined my desire to serve our country with a lifelong love of the water forged right here on the Treasure Coast. And after graduating from the Coast Guard Academy and becoming an officer in the U.S. Coast Guard, I crisscrossed the Caribbean and the Middle East, chasing drug runners and terrorists. And I even spent 2 years right here in Fort Pierce as the captain of not one, but 2 ships stationed out of Fort Pierce at the Coast Guard station here. My last assignment on active duty, I served as the Chief of Staff of Vice President Harris's National Security Team, a lady you might have heard of. And in that role, I was very fortunate to lead a team of policy professionals from across the U.S. government, advising the Vice President on all aspects of foreign policy and national security. So in that job, I was also very fortunate to earn frequent flyer miles on Air Force 2, which I gotta tell folks, is not quite as nice as Bribe Force 1 we have now. But seriously, as my time in that assignment wrapped up, my wife and I were having a conversation over the holidays in 2024, and She's from Stewart. I'm from Hope Sound. We were driving home from her parents. You know how the holidays go. And she turned to me and she said, "So what do you want to do?" So that's what she said. And for those who are married, you know, what she meant was, do you really want to raise our kids here? After Trump just won, Martin County's redder than ever. And we happen to be driving on Old Dixie Highway, and I look out the window, and right there is this small business that's been in my family for almost 100 years. And I turned to her and I said, we can't give up the ship. We got to be the change we want to see. That's why I'm stepping up. Most folks here know costs are skyrocketing. Healthcare in multiple forms is under assault. The national debt, which I'm told Republicans are supposed to care about, has exploded. To say nothing of masked federal agents on our streets murdering American citizens. But none of that's happening because the hardworking folks of the Treasure Coast are dreaming smaller or working less. No, it's happening because Brian Mast is failing Florida families like mine and like yours. If we don't make a change, the life I envision for my family is slipping out of reach. How many folks, show of hands, were raised on the promise that if you work hard and you play by the rules, you'll be a little bit better off than your parents? Yeah, me too. Well, for the first time in almost 80 years, that's no longer true. That's no longer true. The opportunities I had growing up are not going to be the same ones my daughters are going to have. And what's worse, they already don't have the same rights that my wife had. That's why I'm stepping up. My military service makes me uniquely suited to take on Brian Mast. And I'm ready to put my record of military service against Brian Mast's record of lying down to President Trump any day of the week. But we know what we're against. We're here in the church to hear some good Democrats on a Tuesday night. What are we for? When I get to Congress, I'm going to be laser focused on the cost of living crisis gripping working families like mine. Finally addressing our clean water crisis. Getting good quality health care into as many American hands as possible, as quickly as possible. And preventing and securing Social Security and veterans benefits, which they're trying to privatize at every turn. But I'm also going to be on the leading edge of bold new policy ideas to address the big problems of tomorrow. Things like regulating AI. Things like rebuilding the American government after the Trump administration to make sure it works better for the American people. And novel ideas like making sure members of Congress can't trade stocks on the policies they regulate. In November, we have a generational chance to unseat Brian Mast. And I would go so far as to say, we have a moral imperative to defeat him. I'm going to say that again. We have a moral imperative to defeat him. And why is that? Is it because he lacks moral courage? Is it because he's an election denier? Or is it because he's coin operated by the president and his donors? Well, he's all of those things, but that's not why. It's because until we defeat Brian Mast and his brand of politics, we're not going to be able to tackle the big ideas of tomorrow. We're not going to be able to hold this administration accountable. And we're not going to be able to make sure the American dream is achievable for everyone, not just the privileged few. But to meet this moment, we need to look to those who have produced results, not just rhetoric. $3.5 billion of illicit narcotics prevented from reaching American shores. More than 400 human and drug smugglers behind bars. Advising our world leaders at the highest levels of our government. Making policy at the highest levels of our government. And most important to me, leading our sons and daughters into harm's way. That's my track record. I look forward to working with each and every one of you in this room to win this seat and to deliver real leadership to this district and this great country. Not just to make it redder or bluer, but to make it better and truer. So how are we going to do it? How are we going to do it, right? Each person, I need you to take out your phones, take out your notes app, take out your messages app. I'm not seeing any phones. All right, I need you to write down five folks that you want to knock doors with James Martin with, that you want to phone bank with James Martin with, that you want to share his website, James Martin's website. Because how we're going to get this done in November is everyday folks like you. All right? Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to the questions. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Taylor.
Good evening, everyone. Man, y'all don't wake up. Good evening, everyone. All right, well done. All right, good. My name is Bernard Taylor, and I'm running for Congress to represent Florida Congressional District 21, covering St. Lucie County, Martin County, and northern Palm Beach County. A little bit about myself. I am a fourth-generation Floridian. I was born down in the city of Miami. I moved to the Treasure Coast when I was 11 years old to the Gifford, Florida area. My maternal family's background is St. Lucie County and Indian River County, where my mom decided to move us when she wanted us to have a better opportunity to grow up. I graduated from Sebastian River High School in 2007 with a full academic and athletic scholarship to Livingstone College just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, where I majored in criminal justice. 2 years after being in Livingstone, I decided to pursue a professional football career in the CFL, which was cut extremely short when I tore up my knee in training camp during the first year. At that point in time, I did experience a little bit of depression going through my 20s, trying to figure out life. I worked at any type of industry you could think of, whether that's landscaping, construction, hospitality, food service, etc. It wasn't until I turned 27 years old that I discovered my passion in life, which was joining the fire service. I started down at Broward Fire Academy and McFadder Institute. It took me 7 months to complete my EMT and firefighter minimum standards course, where I was the class leader and graduated at the head of the fire academy. After I graduated, I spent 6 months working at JFK Hospital in West Palm Beach as an EMT before I got my first fire job over in Polk County, Florida, in the city of Lakeland, where I spent 7 months before eventually coming to my dream department down in Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, where I've been a firefighter for going on 6 years now. I have been a firefighter for 6 years. During my course of my firefighter career, I have been Employee of the Month 6 times. I've been Firefighter of the Year nominated once, and I am receiving an award in a couple of weeks for the Call of the Year for saving a woman who suffered an extremely bad traumatic brain injury, who was not supposed to recover, and thank you, who has not only recovered but is back riding horses again. So it just goes to show you where your tax dollars are going in terms of public service through your fire and EMS personnel. That's my professional and personal background. When you look at my community service background, I'm a member of the local NAACP chapter here in St. Lucie County. I'm also a part of Geared Up for Fire, which is a mentorship program to mentor our youth to the path of joining the fire service and the EMS service. I wish I had someone to put me on the path of a program like this at my age, because maybe I might not have went to college. I might have jumped in the fire service extremely early and been able to retire at 45 instead of 55. But that's neither here nor there. The reason why I decided to run, being in public service, opens your eyes to how legislation actually impacts us on the everyday level. Where you talk about cost of living, going into certain people's homes and seeing how they're living, seeing how they're paying 2 and 3 times the normal average rent across this country to live in the homes that probably should be condemned. When you see people rationing medicine because they can't afford to eat that night, and eventually going into cardiac arrest because they're making life and death decisions whether they should take their medicine or whether they should eat. Seeing how our hospital system is uniquely broken, where you talk about understaffed nurses, where you talk about overcrowded emergency rooms. Seeing how our home health care service is broken amongst our seniors, especially with the crackdown on immigration over the past year and a half, not realizing here in Florida, a lot of the people that take care of our seniors are immigrants. So when you look at the home health aid services, when you look at nursing homes, a lot of these people that service our elderly folks are immigrants in this country, whether you know it or not. And when you go into those nursing homes these days, they are a complete ghost town because they have no one there working to take care of our elderly. And that shouldn't be the case. In a country where you work your entire life to be able to retire with dignity, you should be able to have the care that you deserve. Seeing how resources are divided amongst the community, when you speak specifically to St. Lucie County, there is a unique medium average wage disparity between the folks that live in Fort Pierce and the folks that live in Port St. Lucie. And that's not to say that the folks in Port St. Lucie work harder than the folks in Fort Pierce. That's to say that the resources are not necessarily going to the places that they need to go. The opportunities aren't necessarily being funneled to the places they need to be. And seeing all those things, whether it's in the nonprofit that I work with, whether it's being a part of the local NAACP, whether it's being in the back of that ambulance, it kind of radicalized me a little bit because I felt like the current leadership and the people we had in charge were not listening to the everyday voter. I felt like there were a lot of people that had voices that felt like they weren't being heard. And I feel like there was no one brave enough to actually step up and be against a lot of the things that go on. And what do I mean when I say that? When you look at our government, there is an extreme lack of trust in our leadership, whether that's at the local, state, or federal level. I believe in order to establish trust back in the government, we need to do things like get money out of politics by reviewing the Citizens United decision. I think we need to do just as James described. We need to make sure that there is no trading amongst representatives, whether that's at the federal, state, or local level in the stock market. You should not be profiting off the knowledge that you are earning based upon the votes that you're given. Another thing I think we need to do is establish term limits, not just for the executive branch that are already there. I think we need to establish term limits in the House and the Senate and even in the judiciary. As much as I love the Supreme Court, you don't need to be on there for 50 years, in my personal opinion. I think if we start at that baseline, we can do what needs to be done in terms of establishing trust in our government. Because right now, whether you're in your golden ages or whether you're a young person, there's an extreme lack of trust in our government. I believe once we tackle that point, we can start to work on some things to make lives better for our American citizens. Whether that's addressing the cost of living crisis by getting these corporations and hedge funds out of the housing market, especially the single-family housing market, whether that's expanding to universal health care, making sure that we are all covered in terms of being able to go to the doctor, being able to have pre-hospital care, not having to worry about premiums, deductibles, and co-pays. We are one of the last developed nations in the entire world that do not have universal health care for its citizens. And in the wealthiest country in the world, it's not a fact that we can't afford it. We don't prioritize the people in this room. We have enough money to spend every day to take lives of people across this country and across the world, but we don't have enough money to make sure we can all live to enjoy our lives. I believe we do, and I believe that takes somebody that wants to prioritize those things. And last but not least, unique here to our environment and unique here to the Treasure Coast is the environment. And James touched on this as well. Brian Mast has been the quote-unquote champion for the water for the past 10 years since he's been in office. And in the 10 years he's been in office, nothing has changed. If you look at his legislative record, he has proposed one piece of legislation to actually address the crisis, and it was a research paper. So he basically put forth legislation to study what we already know. If you look at his environmental score and his record on his voting record, he has a 16% effectiveness rate voting with the environment, and in the year 2024, he actually had a 0% score in terms of championing our environment. So what the rhetoric says does not match up to the action. So I think we really need to have people who are focused on cleaning up the waters, because not only does it affect our environment, it affects our health. And we know when those discharges come from the lake to St. Lucie, they don't go to the areas where the $750,000 homes are. Just being real with you guys. So for me, it is not only an environmental concern, it is a health concern for the residents here in our district. And I think we need to focus on those three things in order to make our lives better. And last but not least, we need to address what is unique to this district and unique to this country, which is an attack on representation, especially African-American representation in our country. When you look at the Louisiana and Calais decision that was passed by the Supreme Court, it uniquely affected us here in Florida. The majority black districts that we had in Congress were being attacked, and we now have only 2 seats dedicated to representation for black people in the state of Florida, and the state of Florida is the second most populated state with African Americans in our entire country. So there's a concerted effort to attack representation amongst our community, and there's a concerted effort to make sure that we are not able to vote. So I think we need to champion Voting Rights Act that was proposed by Representative John Lewis, and actually make sure we are putting forth an independent commission to set up districts, not just in our state, but across this country, so that we all as American citizens have fair representation. I'm not a career politician. This is not something I thought I was going to be doing. My mother will tell you, I do not like being up in front of people. But, you know, when you see something, when you see things are wrong, it's just a firefighter's nature. When you see things on fire, you just run into it, no questions asked. And right now, our government is on fire, and I think I'm the person to get in there and put the fire out. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. So you, sir, get the first question. So how much of the funding have you raised from PAC, also known as Political Action Committees? Part two of that question, would you also take money from political action committees to win?
My campaign has not taken a single dollar from any corporate PAC or special interest PAC. We are 99.9% grassroots funded. We have raised over $1 million from 45,000 individuals across this country that believe in the message that I'm bringing and believe that we can actually do this thing here in Florida.
Mr. Martin?
We are also very proudly corporate interest and special interest free on the James Martin for Florida campaign. And I would take PAC money from organizations dedicated to electing Democrats because there's a significant difference between special interest groups and groups that are dedicated to electing Democrats, which is a very important distinction. Thank you.
All right, before we go to the very last portion of our time together, again, on behalf of the St. Lucie County Democratic Party, the St. Lucie branch of the NAACP, and the St. Lucie County Black Democratic Club, thank you for our candidates and our audience for certainly spending time with us this evening to let us know what your positions are, your willingness to answer our questions because you did know what was coming, and we certainly look forward to you all serving us not only at the school board level, but at the state level as well as national. So for our school board candidates, the current meeting time is 5 p.m. and is still seen as a negative for community involvement. How do you feel about the possibility of having meetings later in the evening to accommodate more participation, especially from families? Who would like to go first?
Do you want to
Lisa?
go first since you're on the school board? Oh, okay. I'll go first.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it makes sense to move it to 6 p.m. I don't know why it's at 5 p.m., but 5 p.m. is tough when parents are still working until 5 p.m. And we say we want parents to be involved, but our actions show something different. So I would be on board with moving it to 6 o'clock.
Okay. Somebody in the
7
audience said
o'clock.
7.
All right. A what? Uh-huh. 7. I'm a
Just
night
in the
owl,
the
so I would
childcare.
love 7. So that would be cool. Maybe what should happen is to ask parents and take a vote, be a democracy. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you, thank you. Debbie?
I've been on the school board long enough to tell you that we did an experiment probably 10, 12 years ago where we did change the time to later. It was a 6:30 start time for our traditional school board meeting. And that lasted for a year because we do our reorg in November, and at that time we set when the times will start and who's going to be on what committee and all of that sort of thing. And during that entire year, we didn't have any more participation from the community, the parents, anyone, than we did from when the meeting started at 5. So at the next reorg meeting, the vote was to go back to the 5 o'clock time. And that's where it's been. But it is addressed every year at the November reorganization meeting. I'm happy to hear from you all. I would love to see your faces in the audience. And if that means 7 o'clock start times and you promise me you'll be there, then I'll vote for it. The flip side of that is we like to have all of the staff members there so that if anything comes up within the course of the meeting, they can respond to it. Because as you know, we can't talk to each other as elected officials other than when we're on the dais and we're having conversation. So if we have a question of a staff member and that staff member is not there, it prolongs the action of the board. Meaning, staff members, I think, are ready to stay too. I mean, that's their job, to be there when we're there. But when it didn't make a difference as far as participation-wise from the community, the board decided, we'll just go back to the 5 o'clock time. But it is always open for discussion, absolutely. We're here to serve you. And if you can be there better at 7 o'clock and you'll be there, I mean, it doesn't even mean that you have to come and talk to us. Just be there. Watch our kids perform, things like that. And that is another downside to the earlier start time, because at our board meetings, we do have students perform. And if we wait until 7, they don't get out of there till closer to 8, and it's a school night and homework and all of those things. So there's various intricacies involved with it, but certainly we're here to hear what the public wants and what the public will respond to. So,
Thank you, Debbie. The next question is for both Mr. Alexander, who is vying for Port St. Lucie City Council District 3, as well as Mr. Jean-Eddie Leroy, County Commission District 4, and Mr. Roger Messer, County Commission District 4 as well. The question, gentlemen, is where do you stand on the use of flock cameras that is perceived to violate the Fourth Amendment? Mr. Alexander.
For the flood camera, I'm totally against it. Totally against it, because I believe that they put those things in the street they're supposed to put them in the street to watch for crimes and so many other things. But unfortunately, that's not the way it is. So I'm totally against it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mester, you stay on this side of the table.
I'm against it too. There was a show on television last night. It's not just the flock cameras. It is skipjacks for the cell phones. It is all kinds of things that impose upon our rights of privacy in this country. I've been in St. Lucie County a long time. I used to do citizen ride-along with a couple of the sheriff's deputies, and we would actually talk about the Fourth Amendment. I took constitutional law in law school, and the Fourth Amendment is kind of important. And we're stepping all over it right now with flock cameras, and we need to say no. We need to say no on lots of these invasive things that they have.
Thank you. Mr. Leroy?
I don't think I heard your question. Is there any way can you repeat that question one time, ma'am?
Yes, sir. So where do you stand on the use of flock cameras with the perception that it violates the Fourth Amendment?
When it comes to the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizure, black cameras, I mean, people need to be aware of what's going on. I mean, when it comes to, I'm totally against it. I'm gonna put it like that. I'm totally against it.
Thank you, sir. For our Florida and national candidates as well. So, Ms. Jennifer Massey, what do you think should be done to help at-risk children?
So to help at-risk children, there's a lot that can be done. One of the things that I would advocate for is for CVI funding, community violence intervention funding. We have a lot of organizations across the state that are on the ground doing the work to help our youth to help our communities, whether it's with bullying, whether it is with death by suicide, whether we're talking about community violence. And they're actually on the ground working with some of the law enforcement they do get to have the opportunity to work with, but they're on the ground doing the work trying to interrupt violence before it happens. If they have gangs in their communities, if they have various youth that are having trouble and issues. And so I want to make sure that we provide funding to those organizations that are doing the work to help them continue to do it, because there's a lot of evidence-based programs and information that we could use based on things that have happened and been successful in other states or other counties that would be equivalent to our district or to our state that we could actually implement. And so those are some of the things I've already had the opportunity of implementing when I was a part of Moms Demand Action, when I actually lived in Washington, D.C. And so one of the things that we did do is continuously advocate together as various organizations come together to make sure that we have the proper funding, the proper resources, but also making sure that we're providing the correct education and awareness in the communities of what is actually happening, because there has to be a buy-in from the community for these things to even actually work.
Thank you, Jennifer. So for our national candidates, prior to your candidacy, what services did you render to the African American community, and what have you done since? Mr. Taylor.
So prior to my candidacy, as I stated, I've been fire rescue personnel for 6 years now. My second year in office, my second year as a public servant, I actually worked out in the city of Belgrade and Pahokee, which is a majority minority community. Served that battalion for about 2 years. Not only did I work out there, but one of the things that we did as a union was organize a lot of activities for the kids out there to give them things to do, because there aren't a lot of resources that go to Belgrade and Pahokee. So we wanted to make sure us as a station provided and did what we could to let the kids know that there are other options and give them a safe space to come and play and a safe space to come and learn and potentially, put them on a path to looking into the fire service. Again, also, like I spoke about earlier, I work with Geared Up for Fire, which basically is a mentorship, and most of our youth are African Americans that come through the program that we teach about the fire services, about EMS, and we teach them and get them certified in first aid and CPR. So all those things were before I even started thinking about running for office, and ever since I've been running for office, I've been trying to step up in any way I can in the community. Right here at Friendship last Thanksgiving during the government shutdown, when families were unable to afford food and SNAP benefits were being cut, I partnered with Pastor Johnson, and we fed over 100 families to make sure they had a Thanksgiving dinner. A couple months ago, we had free health screenings in the community because we know the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare have affected our community largely and disproportionately over other communities. Just this recent Saturday, we made sure 3,000 kids had backpacks with school supplies to help fill in the gap for those families who are struggling with the rising cost of living. So this whole time that I've been running for office, I've been looking for ways to help my community and all communities and try to show that I'm not waiting till I get elected to step up into that void.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Well, I love the question. As I touched on in my introduction, I have been in the Coast until very recently. I was in the U.S. Coast Guard from the time I was 18 years old, stationed all around the world, and to include right here in Fort Pierce. Very fortunate to be at the White House. Very fortunate to have had a lovely career. But the through line through all of those jobs was the fact that I took the absolute toughest jobs, which don't really leave much time for volunteer work, to the extent that I have been able to do volunteer work when I was stationed on the Treasure Coast, very active in organizations, Hope Sound-based organization called Natives Helping Natives. But the fact of the matter is, my entire career since I've been 18 years old has been serving the American people, and it's something that I took very seriously, and that is the extent of my service. Since I've been a candidate, one of the things extremely early in this campaign that I was very conscious of doing was centering the African American community, particularly because we have such a historic African American community in our district. Most people don't appreciate, the history of Old Fort Pierce, and that's something, I grew up knowing. So one of the important things to me was to meet with community leaders and understand what the needs of the community were in policy. So one of the things when we talk about the cost of living crisis, one of the big things, the two big centerpieces that I have talked about are, one, raise your hand if you're familiar with the acronym MDBA, Minority Development Business Agency. Okay, we got a few folks. Well, most folks may not appreciate that there's only two in the state of Florida, one in Miami and one in Orlando. One of the things that I have pushed for and would propose pushing for is to have one on the Treasure Coast, since we have such a deserving population. The second one, and this is drastically under assault during the Trump administration, is, who's familiar with the acronym CDFI, Community Development Finance Institution? A few folks. So what CDFIs do is essentially insure banks so that they can provide access to capital for those who normally, with most banks, would not be able to access capital. So what has happened under the Trump administration is they have gutted that arm of the government. Some $70 million, $60 to $70 million that is supposed to ensure that banks can provide that access to capital. So that was a very intentional choice, and it was something that was very important to me very early in this campaign. So really appreciate the question. Thanks for it.
Thank you. So are there any other questions from the audience at this time? All right, hold on. Actually, if we can give this gentleman, we get to you, Mr. Messer. Thank you for using the mic.
Hi. Thank you all so much for being here. It's really great to hear. I would vote for each and every one of you, honestly. But what I would like to know is, how are you going to inspire enough voters to make it a democratic wave like we really, really need? Okay? The youth, the people of color, the Latin population, women, and also all of us people who always vote for you anyway, but how to inspire others to come out and vote when they need to. Thank you.
Okay. Who's going to take that one? That's an open question.
Good, because I was going to take it.
I know you will take it. Look, be perfectly honest with you guys. When you look at the numbers here, there are about 650,000 registered voters here in our district from a congressional perspective. 270,000 of those people are Republicans. 188,000 are Democrats. So, big gap. However, there are 160,000 independents and non-party affiliates. So that means that there are more non-Republicans in our district than there are Republicans. This is not a red district. This is an unorganized district, to be brutally honest with you. People have been beaten over the head for this past 5 years that this place is red, you have no chance. When in actuality, we have the best chance this year to have a blue wave hit our district. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the communities that are getting activated, whether you talk about the black community, the Hispanic community, whether you talk about young people, whether you talk about our seniors, and whether you talk about the redistricting that I talked about earlier, it actually benefited our district. It took our district from Republican +7 to Republican +5. So our district becomes a true battleground district if we galvanize the community. The thing that's going to happen, the thing that we need is people who are willing to be able to go to places that normal people won't go, to go reach people where they want to be reached, and do the things that it takes to reach those communities. You have to go to Indiantown. You have to go down to Lake Park. You have to spend time in East Stewart and up here in Fort Pierce. Then you got to go to Jupiter Island and Singer Island and hope they let you on the island and try to talk to them people as well. So the candidate that is unique and has that unique ability to be able to bring all these different groups of people together to come for a common good will be the person that creates the change that we want to see. So when you go into the booth and when you go to select your candidates, I really want you to think about who is that person that can unite an entire coalition of people who have maybe not all the same backgrounds, but can come together for one purpose, and that is to make our home better for everybody.
Can I add something to that also? Just today, I was at a women's networking thing, and somebody came up to me because I told them I'm running for school board and it's nonpartisan, and she came up to me. I'm pretty sure she was probably red-leaning, but she came up to me and said, I am so frustrated right now. I don't care what they are. They all need to come out. We need a fresh start. And yeah, so we can reach out to people who maybe we haven't before, because people are disenfranchised right now. So I think we can reach voters who maybe wouldn't typically vote Democrat. They're voting change. So.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll get you Rock Rogers next.
First of all, I would like to say I'm excited with both of our congressional candidates. I hope that whichever one of them prevails, the other one will stand with him at his side until the end of this thing. I can tell you that we can't write off Republican votes. One of the pictures, first pictures in my webpage shows me putting a sign in a Republican yard. I've gotten some small donations from some Republican families. I've been here long enough that I know people. And if you talk to people and you make sense to people, they'll vote for you. Not all of them. Republicans are kind of difficult. But we can reach them. The independents should be an automatic. The way the economy is going right now and the way the leadership in Washington and Tallahassee is going. But we need to be able to talk to everybody and not give any vote up.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening.
What say you?
In regards to the flock cameras, everybody that opposes, there are some areas in the Treasure Coast that has flock cameras, and there are some neighborhoods in the Treasure Coast. They label their flock cameras, but there are some neighborhoods in the Treasure Coast that don't label their flock cameras. Per se, Port St. Lucie, some areas in Port St. Lucie, some communities in Port St. Lucie, they let you know that you're being surveillance 24 hours, and there's some in Indian River County that lets you know that you're being monitored, you know, throughout the whole day, that you're coming and going. But in Fort Pierce, there's no signs at all. So just to kind of keep you guys posted about that, we are going into a new age surveillance state. Wouldn't you think that it would be more important to let people know that they're being surveillance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And some of the flock cameras, they're not even flock cameras, they're gun sensors. So if a gun sound goes off in the vicinity, the police will be alerted to how far the sound was or how close the sound was to the flock area that alerted them that the gunshots went off, so that it can be able to better serve the communities. I know in some instances I have talked to county commissioners to also let them know that these areas are with signage and some of these areas are not with signage. Well, we don't want them torn down, but all across America, America is fighting back and they are being torn down.
Thank you. Thank you.
So can I just make that a question? Do you think, for our folks who would be county, I'm guessing, Congress as well, do you think that we should label and notify everyone if a flock camera is up or any surveillance of the community is active?
Well, I think first and foremost, before the cameras go up, they should be approved by the community, by the citizens. There's no reason why you should be surveilled without your, not only without your knowledge, but without your permission. So right now, these cameras are going up, and they're going up without your permission. So that's the very first thing we need to do. And to piggyback off what, the candidates were speaking about earlier, not only is it a Fourth Amendment right, you also have to look at what started all of this back in the early 2000s with the Patriot Act. You traded safety for your security, and they're counting on you doing that again. So when they tell you these cameras are just, oh, we're just trying to bring speeding down, or we want to make sure we can respond to traffic stops well, or we want to make sure that we can, like we talked about, if we hear a gun go off, which is only 38% of the time it's actually a gun, it could be somebody's car backfire. But I say all that to say again, not only am I opposed to it, but we need to make sure that we're not trading quote-unquote security for our personal privacy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude our time together. Again, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you at the polls. Please make sure not only should you vote, but bring somebody with you as well. Have a good night and get home safe.
I just want to say thank you to all the ladies and gentlemen who came out tonight and remind everybody that the candidates will be here for a little bit longer. Please feel free to ask them questions and talk to them individually. And more importantly, take stuff from the back table, literature about our candidates, take multiples and give them to your neighbors. Make sure that people learn about the Democratic candidates that are on your ballot, specifically now during the primary election. There are Democrats, the NPAs, and Republicans in this room right now who are listening to these candidates, and we need to make sure that that message gets out there. And when you ask how we're going to create the blue wave, you will create the blue wave by spreading the information, by talking to your neighbors, your friends, your family about these amazing candidates. And once the primary is over, we're going full force, and I expect to see every single one of you at a Democratic Party meeting. Our next one is August 11th. It's at 7 o'clock. It's a Tuesday, and it's at the Temple. So please come get a card, and we'll see you there. Thank you. Early voting starts Saturday, guys.
There you go.